நீங்கள் பார்த்து கொண்டிருப்பது உங்கள் RSKV யூடியூப் சேனல்.
Income Tax Inspectors Exam 2023 Part 3 Allied Laws. Which school of doctrine recognizes unobstructed heritage? Answer Mitakshara. Question 2. Which of the following can't be considered as ancestral property? Property inherited from maternal grandfather. Question 3. Which of the following is not a Hindu undivided family? A family consists of an unmarried male Hindu. Question 4. A inherited certain property from his father X. A gifted the income of that property to his wife B for her lifetime. A has the son C. In the case of A and B's death, what is the nature of the property in the hands of C? Ancestral property. Question 5. Which of the following statements in regard to recovery of ancestral property lost to the family are true? 1. If immovable property is recovered by the father without the assistance of joint funds, it partakes the character of a self-acquired property. 2. If movable property is recovered by any other member without the assistance of joint funds, it partakes the character of his self-acquired property. 3. If immovable property is recovered by any other member without the help of joint funds, he takes 1/4 as a reward and the balance is to be divided among all the co-partners, including the recoverer. All are true. Question 6. Which of the following statements are correct? Mitakshara law divides property into two classes, namely Aparatibandha Dhaya and Sapratibandha Dhaya. Number 2. Obstructed heritage devolves by succession and unobstructed heritage devolves by survivorship. Both the statements are true. Question 7. Who can alienate co-partnership property? A. The whole body of co-partners where they are adults. B. The manager to the extent mentioned in section 242. 3. The sole surviving co-partners. Answer D. All of the above. Question 8. Which section of Transfer of Property Act 1882 saves the Mohammedan personal laws? Section 129. Question 9. In case of lawsuit involving partition, who has the authority to actually make the partition according to the rights declared as in a partition decree? The court-appointed commissioner. Question 10. What are the incorrect statements about the will? 1. It is a legal declaration of a testator. 2. It is a legal declaration of an administrator. And 3. It can be executed during his lifetime and also after his death. All the three statements are true. Question 11. Can minor co-partner from joint family be declared to be insolvent? No. Question 12. In the absence of the contract or local law or usages to the contrary, a lease of immovable property for agricultural or manufacturing purpose shall be deemed to be a lease from year to year terminable on the part of either lessor or lessee by dash notice, 6 months notice. Question 13. Where property is bequeathed and the revocation of the bequest is prevented by coercion, the legatee must hold the property for the benefit of the testator's legal representatives. Question 14. As per section 130 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, transfer of actionable claim, which one exception is provided: transfer of marine or fire policy. Question 15. If one of the death of a testator who has deposited a sealed cover, application be made to the registrar who holds it in deposit to open the same, and if the registrar is satisfied that the testator is dead, he shall, in the applicant's presence, open the cover. Question 16. As per Section 44 of the Registration Act 1908, the registrar who holds it in deposit shall satisfy that the applicant is actually the testator or his agent. Question 17. What is the purpose of registration of document? A. Determination of legal status of document. B. Admissibility of evidence in court. Both A and B are correct. Question 18. The following documents shall be registered. A. Non-testamentary instruments which acknowledge the receipt or payment of any consideration on account of the creation, declaration, assignment, limitation or extinction of any such right, title or interest. B. Other non-testamentary instruments which purport or operate to create, declare, assign, limit or extinguish, whether in present or in future, any right, title or interest, whether vested or contingent, of the value of 100 rupees and upwards to or in immovable property. Question 19. Which of the following is not included in immovable property under the Registration Act? Standing timber and growing crops. Question 20. Release of his share or interest in partnership property by a partner in favor of other partner is a movable property requiring no registration. Question 21. Documents other than will remaining unclaimed in any registration office for a period exceeding may be destroyed. 2 years. Documents for registration. Question 22. Documents for registration may be presented anywhere in the district. Question 23. What is provided under Section 17 of the Registration Act? Documents of which registration is compulsory. Question 24. An unregistered sale deed of an agricultural land shall have which of the following effect of the said land? Answer. May be received as evidence of contract in a suit for specific performance. Question 25. As per Section 16 of the Registration Act 1908, the government is to provide which of the following things to the officers of registering authority for keeping their records in safe custody? Fireproof boxes. Question 26. Codicil means an instrument made in relation to a will, explaining, altering or adding to its disposition in the will. Question 27. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, where an intestate has left a widow with no lineal descendant but kindred only, the property of the intestate will devolve half of the wife and one half to the kindred. Question 28. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, the owners of the proof that the will was executed under undue influence is on the party who alleges it. Question 29. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, the priority of the expenses to be incurred by the executor after the death of testator are funeral and deathbed charges, expenses for obtaining probate, outstanding wages, other debts. Question 30. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, an executor has the power to dispose of the property of the deceased as per following section. Section 307. Question 31. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, succession to deceased persons, immovable property in India is governed by law of India irrespective of the domicile. Question 32. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, the exhibition of an intentionally false inventory or account by an executor or administrator under section 317 is deemed to be an offence under the following section. Section 193 of IPC. Question 33. As per Indian Succession Act 1925, the following persons cannot make a valid will: a minor with a sound mind. Question 34. As per Section 218 of Indian Succession Act 1925, administration may be granted where deceased is Hindu, Mohammedan, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain or exempted person, to any person entitled to whole or part of such deceased estate. Question 35. What would be the presumption under the Indian Succession Act if a will is lost and could not be found after the death of testator? Select the correct answer. It will be presumed that the same has been revoked by the testator. Question 36. According to the provisions of the Indian Succession Act 1925, even if the legatee attests the codicil, it will have no consequences on legatee. This statement is correct. Question 37. A person A who is entitled to a part of the estate of the deceased is granted a letter of administration 4 months after the death of the deceased. The following act committed by A during the above period of 4 months is invalid: selling some of the gold ornaments belonging to the deceased. Question 38. As per Section 213 of the Indian Succession Act, which of the following is not correct? Answer. Provision of this section is applicable to Hindu and Parsi communities alike. Question 39. Under Indian Trust Act, a trust is an obligation annexed to the ownership of property and arising out of a confidence reposed in and accepted by the owner or declared and accepted by him for the benefit of another or of another and the owner. The person who accepts the confidence is called the trustee. Question 40. Under Indian Trust Act, where a trust is created for two purposes, of which one is lawful and the other is unlawful, and the two purposes cannot be separated, the whole trust is void. Question 41. Under Indian Trust Act, dash is bound to keep clear and accurate accounts of the trust property, the trustee. Question 42. Under Indian Trust Act, liability for breach of trust is dealt in Section 23. Question 43. The conditions wherein trust may be revoked are: 1. Where all the beneficiaries are competent to contact by their consent. 2. Where the trust has been declared by a non-testamentary instrument or by word of mouth in exercise of a power of revocation expressly reserved to the author of the trust. 3rd, where the trust is for the payment of the debts of the author of the trust and has not been communicated to the creditors at the pleasure of the author of the trust. 4. Trust created by will at the pleasure of the testator. All the above statements are correct. Question 44. Under Indian Trust Act, a trust is an obligation annexed to the ownership of property and arising out of a confidence reposed in and accepted by the owner or declared and accepted by him for the benefit of another or of another and the owner. The person for whose benefit the confidence is accepted is called the trustee. Question 45. A breach of any duty imposed on a trustee as such by any law for the time being is in force is called as breach of trust. Question 46. No trust in relation to immovable property is valid. 1. Unless declared by a non-testamentary instrument in writing signed by the author of the trust or the trustee. 2. Executed by the will of the author of the trust or the trustee. Third, it is registered. All the three are correct. Question 47. A trustee committing a breach of trust is not liable to pay interest except in the following cases. 1. Where he has actually received interest. 2. Where the breach consists in unreasonable delay in paying trust money to the beneficiary. Third, where the trustee ought to have received interest but has not done so. 4. Where he may be fairly presumed to have received interest. All the four are correct. Question 48. Under Indian Trust Act, if a partner, being a trustee, wrongfully employs a trust property in the business or on the account of the partnership. Answer. The partners having such notice are jointly and severally liable for the breach of trust. Question 49. Which section of RTA Act 2005 does the draft of the Digital Data Protection Bill 2022 propose to do away with in order to protect the privacy of an individual? Section 8 bar 1J. Question 50. The right to know under the Right Act 2005 traces its roots from A. Article 19 bar 1 of the Constitution of India, B. Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Both are correct. 51. Which of the following is an information under Section 2F of the RTA Act? Seeking explanation for decision or lack of it. Question 52. Which of the following is true under RTA Act? Declaration of assets can be disclosed only in accordance with the procedure prescribed under Section 8 bar 1J of the Act. Question 53. When any information is sought by an applicant in which third-party information is asked and the third party pleads a privacy defense, the proper question for determination for the CPIO would be whether answer there is an element of overriding public interest that outweigh the private defense. Question 54. Income tax return of the assessees cannot be disclosed to others under RTA Act on the ground that these are personal in nature and is a third-party information exempted under Section 8J. Question 55. Which of the following is true under RTA Act 2005? Where the information sought for concerns the life and liberty of the person, the same may be provided within 48 hours of the receipt of the request. Question 56. An appeal to the Central Information Commission which is not accompanied by the documents specified in Rule 8 must be proceeded with if the appellant furnishes the necessary documents at the time of hearing. Question 57. The penalty imposed under RTA Act cannot exceed rupees 25,000. Question 58. Under the Right to Information Act, any information can be accessed only if it relates to any occurrence, event or matter which has taken place, occurred or happened 20 years before the date of application under Section 6. Question 59. The maximum number of Central Information Commissioners under the RTA Act 2005 is 10. Question 60. Third party under Clause N of Section 2 of the RTA Act 2005. Third party connotes a person other than the citizen making a request for information. Then second is an public authority. Both the statements are true. Question 61. CAG and PSC, para and action taken reports can be disclosed under the RTA Act only after they are laid on the table of both the houses of the Parliament. Question 62. Within what time is the transfer of an application pursuant to Section 6/3 of RTA Act 2005 is to be made to the other public authority? 5 days. Question 63. The information to an applicant under RTA Act should be provided 1. In the format demanded by him, 2. In the format prescribed under the Act, 3 in the format in which the information exists. Answer D, all of the above. Question 64. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of Parliament or state legislature is exempt under Section 8 of the RTI Act. Question 65. As per Section 7 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, the following persons are competent to transfer property. A young lady of 25 years, always of sound mind, holding a valid power of attorney from the owner of the property. Then a man of 35 years, who is usually of unsound mind but occasionally of sound mind when he is of sound mind. Both the statements are correct. Question 66. As per Section 6 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, property of any kind may be transferred except as otherwise provided by this act or by any other law for the time being to enforce. As per this section, a public officer cannot be transferred. An easement cannot be transferred apart from the dominant heritage. Both the statements are correct. Question 67. Mr. Prabhudeva proposed transferor signs an unregistered agreement to sell on 1st January 2020 with Mr. Siranjeevi, proposed transferee, to sell his agricultural land located in Kandhala for a total consideration of Rs 25 crores. On the same day, in lieu of the proposed transfer, Mr. Prabhudeva, proposed transferor, receives an advance of Rs 5 crores from Siranjeevi, proposed transferee, and hands over the possession of the said land to Mr. Siranjeevi, proposed transferee. Later, Mr. Prabhudeva, proposed transferor, refuses to register the sale deed of the said land in favor of Mr. Chiranjeevi, proposed transferee, and asks him to vacate the premises even though Mr. Chiranjeevi, proposed transferee, is willing to pay the balance amount of Rs 20 crores. Under which section of the Transfer of Property Act 1882 is Mr. Prabhudeva, proposed transferor, debarred from evicting Mr. Chiranjeevi, proposed transferor? Section 53A, Part Performance. Question 68. As per Section 53, Fraudulent Transfer of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, every transfer of immovable property made with intent to defeat or delay the creditors of the transferor shall be voidable at the option of only a creditor so defeated or delayed. Question 16. Which of the following is a valid gift under Transfer of Property Act 1882? Grandfather gifted gold biscuits to his grandchild a week before his only daughter's marriage. Question 17. As per Section 106 of the Transfer of Property Act, in the absence of a contract or local law or usage to the contrary, a lease of immovable property for a purpose other than agricultural or manufacturing purposes shall be deemed to be a lease from month to month terminable on the part of either lessor or lessee by 15 days notice. Answer is 15 days. Question 71. As per Civil Procedure Code 1908, if defendant was found absent from his residence and within reasonable time there is no likelihood of being found at his residence, then service of the summons may be made on his adult son. Question 72. State whether the following assets are attachable for the purpose of execution of decrees and orders. A. Right to sue for damages. B. Right to future maintenance. Both the statements both are non-attachable. Question 73. Under order 47 of Civil Procedure Code, where the application for a review is heard by more than one judge and the court is equally divided, the application shall be rejected. 74 question. As per section 60 of Civil Procedure Code, which properties are not liable to attachment in execution of decree? A. Book of accounts. B. Wearing apparel. C. Any right of personal service. Answer D. All of the above. Question 75. Under Order 16 of Civil Procedure Code, from time for serving summons to enable complaint shall be 15 days. 15. Question 76. Under Order 19 of Civil Procedure Code, what are the matters to which affidavit shall be confined? Such facts which the deponent is able in his own knowledge to prove. Question 77. Under Order 47 of Civil Procedure Code, application for review shall not be granted unless. Answer 1. Court is of opinion that the application for review should be granted. B. Previous notice to the opposite party. C. Applicant provides proof that new matter or evidence was not within his knowledge. D. Answer all of the above. Question 78. Registration is compulsory of non-testamentary instruments which purport or operate to create, declare, assign, limit or extinguish, whether in present or in future, any right, title or interest, whether vested or contingent, of the value of dash to or in immovable property. Answer 100 rupees and upwards. Question 79. On receiving a will is in sealed cover, the registrar must or shall 1. Satisfy that the person presenting the same for deposit is the testator or his agent. 2. May note in his book and on the said cover the year, month, day and hour on which presentation and receipt and the names of any persons who may testify to the identity of the testator or his agent. Both are correct. Question 80. If an application is received by the court to examine a witness not within India, the court commission the second letter of request. Both are correct. Question 81. Which of the following is true? A. Two or more persons can join to make a single affidavit. B. They should depose the facts known to them in separate paragraphs. C. Clerical mistakes can be corrected only before the affidavit is made. Answer D. All of the above. Question 82. Under the provisions of the Transfer of the Property Act 1882, the benefits of a contract can be assigned as an actionable claim and transferable unless A. The contract is one which had been induced by personal qualifications or consideration as to the parties to it. B. The benefit is coupled with an obligation which the assigner is bound to discharge. Either A or B is correct. Question 83. A deed purporting to bestow residence in the house and food from the rent of the house is a declaration of what his interest in the house to be in future and thus requires compulsory registration under Section 17 of Indian Registration Act 1908. Question 84. As per Section 53, fraudulent transfer of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, every transfer of immovable property made with intent to defeat or delay the creditors of the transferor shall be voidable at the option of only a creditor so defeated or delayed. Question 85. Under the Civil Code Procedure 1908, how much salary in execution of any decree other than a decree for maintenance is exempt from attachment? The first 1000 rupees and 2/3 of the remainder. Question 86. Under which section of the Indian Trust Act 1882 liability for breach of trust has been provided. Section 23. Question 87. Where the trust of property consists of money and cannot be applied immediately or at an early date to the purposes of their trust, the trust is bound subject to any direction contained in the instrument of trust bracket close to invest the money on the specified securities and on no others. Which section of Indian Trust Act 1882 contained this provision? Section 20A. Question 88. Which document is not compulsorily registerable? Answer. Instruments acknowledging the receipt or payment of any consideration on account of creation, declaration, assignment, limitation or extension of any such right, title or interest. Question 89. Which of the following deals with the copy of plaint annexed to summons in the Code of Civil Procedure, Order 5, Rule 2? Question 90. As per CPC 1908, the court may compel the attendance of a witness to whom summons has been issued and for that purpose may impose upon him a fine not exceeding 5,000 rupees. Question 91. As per Section 69 of the Indian Succession Act, will gets revoked on testator getting married. Question 92. Which section of the Indian Registration Act 1908 deals with certificate of registration? 60. Question 93. Who can withdraw the sealed cover deposited under Section 42 of the Indian Registration Act 1908? Testator or his agent. Question 94. Registration of which of the following documents is compulsory? Answer. Non-testamentary instruments which acknowledge the receipts or payment of any consideration on account of the creation, declaration, assignment, limitation or extension of any such right, title or interest. Question 95. A registering office may refuse the registrations of document A. which are in a language not understood by the registering officer and not commonly used. B. which contain interlineations, blanks, erasures or alterations. Both A and B are correct. Question 96. The words purport or operate in Section 17 bar 1B of the Indian Registration Act 1908 refers to immediate intention of the instrument. Question 97. Domicile provisions on Part 2 of Indian Succession Act 1925 is applicable to only deceased Hindu, deceased Muhammadan, deceased Buddhist. Answer D. None of the above. Question 98. A Sikh dies intestate, letter of administration could be granted to person entitled to deceased estate in full or part and who has applied for it. Question 99. According to Section 215 of provisions of the Indian Succession Act 1925, a grant of probate or letter of administration in respect of an estate shall be deemed to supersede any certificate previously granted under Part 10 of the Indian Succession Act or Bombay Regulation number 8 of 1827. 100th question. According to Section 225 of the Indian Succession Act 1925, if a codicil is discovered after the grant of probate, a separate probate of that codicil may be granted to the executor if it in no way repeals the appointment of executors made by the will. 2. If the codicil found appoints different executors, probate of the will would be revoked and a new probate of the will as well as the codicil would be granted together. Both are correct.